So my name is Tom Crowell. I'm one of the founders of Chatham Brewing, which is a nano brewery in Chatham, New York, which is in Columbia County. 5 years ago, Jake got a call from another brewery where he had worked in the past, Troy Brewing, saying that they had housed in their barn a small brewing system that had come out of a brew pub that had gone bankrupt in Albany. And it was a relatively low threshold to sort of test the waters to see if there was room for another craft brewery in the Hudson Valley. So there was a couple breweries up in the Albany area, and then really nothing until you got down closer to New York City. So we thought it was a good opportunity to establish a new brand. So we opened up 5 years ago and have found that there's a lot of demand and a lot of interest in our product, as there is for all things local these days in the Hudson Valley. But so we're now making 10 different ales, still at a very small scale, 100 gallons at a batch, but we're brewing, roughly 5 days a week. Yes, we worry less about being true to a particular traditional style and more about making a beer that's very drinkable and enjoyable, beers that we want to drink ourselves rather than necessarily pitching to what the mass market might perceive it to be. And we think that's a good recipe for success. And so to do that, we use very high quality malts, and a lot of them. So it's a more expensive product to make, but we think it yields a much deeper and richer flavor. So at this point, we're using a lot of imported malts from Britain and Europe. We use a generous amount of hops. Hops we're able to get now somewhat locally. In the fall, we do some fresh hopping of beers from small farmers who've started to put in hops. We just won an award for the best craft brewery in the Hudson Valley that's given out at a festival called Tap New York. And we won the best overall, the Matthew Vassar Cup this year. So it's nice to get that recognition. Most of our beers are pretty much straight up ales, and then we do a few beers, like our maple amber has become very popular. We started it as a spring seasonal a couple of years ago, spring being the time when the maple trees are tapped and people are making maple syrup. And so we added a generous portion of local maple syrup into our amber ale, and it gives it a little sweetness. We add it just before it goes in the kegs so the sugars don't ferment out. All of us in the brewery, I think our favorite is our 8-barrel ale, which is a strong ale. It's a fairly dark amber color, a lot of malts, so it's about 8% alcohol, which is where the name comes from, and it's got a lot of hops, but it's balanced, so it's not like a true imperial IPA where the American trend has been to make them just overwhelmingly bitter, so all you really are getting are the hops. This is much more balanced, but it's just a nice, really full-bodied, rich ale. All three of us, Jake and then Matt, our brewer, had all sort of started out home brewing at home, and just because of a love of the process, it's sort of like you're an alchemist. You're taking these raw ingredients and combining them in different proportions and coming out with an entirely new and different product. So I think that appealed to us, as well as just we've stayed small. We're in Chatham, tucked away in a little alleyway, and people really like sort of the quirkiness of stumbling upon us and finding us and bringing their friends to say, hey, you got to meet these guys. On Saturdays, we have tastings and sell growlers, half-gallon refillable jugs, and it's just really nice on Saturdays. People come back, and if they know us, they always want to try what's new. If they don't know us, they're usually excited to find us and try a true small local beer and have a chance to talk with our brewer.